So a lot has been made here recently about Oklahoma's use of the transfer portal, and rightfully so. The Sooners could put on a clinic in how to successfully navigate the portal, but today I actually want to focus on their rivals, the Texas Longhorns, and Sark's use of the transfer portal, because even though the Texas Longhorns have lost some guys to the portal, specifically in Keontre Ingram and Malcolm Epps, I think Sark has made some moves that can help him ease into his first year as a head coach in the Big 12 and help him find some success, and we need to break it down. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you excited by Sark's use of the portal? And let me know what you're thinking there. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, because I do constant college football content and you don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy that content, be sure to like, comment down below. Those interactions are massive to content creators such as myself. But with all that being said, let's talk about this, because the Texas Longhorns are in a bit of a precarious situation when you look around the landscape of the Big 12, because the Longhorns are a talented team. But conversely, also in the Big 12, you have Iowa State and Oklahoma, who are so established not only in the talent they have on the field, but also in the continuity the coaching staff possesses, which instantly gives them a leg up. But that's not to say that Texas doesn't have room to be excited. And I really want to focus on the transfer portal and moves that I think Sark has made to help ensure success both now and as building blocks within the future. And that's very key, because that's where I want to start, is building blocks for the future. Because there are a few guys that Sark and them were able to get to 40 acres that I think will be big for being culture setters. Specifically, I want to talk about four names. Ovi, the linebacker from Notre Dame, Ray Thornton, the linebacker from LSU, Ben Davis, the linebacker from Alabama, and Keelan Robinson, the running back from the University of Alabama. Because when you look, all of these guys come from institutions that know what it takes to get to the playoffs, all institutions having made it to the playoffs in recent memory. But specifically, if we look at Thornton, Davis, and Robinson, these are guys that have played for teams that know what it takes to win it all within the past 4 years. So you getting that into your locker room is an awesome place to be starting, because it is always one thing for Sark to be up at the front of the room saying, this is how we have to do things, this is how we have to do things. There are plenty of coaches in the nation that are clamoring and saying, this is what we have to do. It's all about the responsiveness, though. And when you get in guys such as Thornton, Ben Davis, Ovi, and Keelan Robinson, guys who know what it takes to get to the postseason, and then amongst that group, Thornton, Davis, and Robinson, guys who know what it takes to win a national championship and be a part of a national championship type culture. That right there is going to be a tone setter for the Longhorns. So when you look at those names right there, you don't even have to start talking about the X's and O's to see that those guys right there could be a building block for success for Sark, not only year one by being culture setters, but also for the future of the Texas Longhorns under Steve Sarkisian moving forward. Having those guys that know what it takes to be a part of a championship caliber locker room that can be tone setters for all the rest of the players are going to be massive. But now let's actually turn to the X's and O's of these moves, because even when we look there, I think there's a lot of reason to be excited. And let's stick on the defensive side, because we need to talk about the outside linebackers that Texas has picked up, because I think all three of these moves are incredibly intriguing, especially when we look at Ovi, Ray Thornton, and then Ben Davis. Now, PK is a very interesting defensive coordinator hailing from Washington. That right there was a phenomenal hire by Steve Sarkisian, because PK has got a really intriguing defensive formation that relies heavily on that outside linebacker position. So those guys such as Ray Thornton, Ben Davis, and Ovi, aside from being tone setters in the locker room as far as culture is concerned, are massive pieces for what it is that PK wants to be able to achieve for this Texas defense. Having guys come in with experience at other institutions able to bring that knowledge into 40 acres, plus PK coming in and putting such an emphasis on that position, is going to be massive for the Longhorns. Thornton is a guy that was able to put some playing time in when he was a part of LSU and was really a productive guy. Ben Davis was a top tier talent coming out of high school, but sadly got buried on the depth chart. And Ovi's a guy with a lot of upside. So Texas fans, no matter how you shake it, you have three guys coming into a position that might be the most key, depending on how you look at it and depending on what PK does. I know that there are a lot of defensive positions that are incredibly integral to different schemes, but that outside linebacker jack position is massive to PK's scheme. But it doesn't just stop on the defensive side, and how Texas now has three guys that they feel like they are confident can be be big time pieces for PK. If we look at the offensive side of the ball, Keelan Robinson is an individual who I think is going to be able to give Texas a little bit of breathing room. And running back wasn't even an area where the Longhorns were lacking. In fact, when you look at the Longhorns running back room, that's a very talented room, headlined by Bijan Robinson and then Roschon Johnson. But Keelan Robinson has got a spark to him. He's got home run hitting ability, and he can be utilized in multiple different facets of the game. And specifically when we're talking about the X's and O's and we look at Steve Sarkisian and how it is he likes to run his offense, he's always had 1,000-yard rushers. And in fact, he's always been very effective at having running back by committee. So we could be in a situation where that versatility that Keelan Robinson has is going to make massive dividends for this Texas offense. Aside from him having home run ability, I talked the other day when we talked about him going to Texas that he was someone that Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide staff were looking at that wide receiver H position or that slot wide receiver position, aside from him being a running back. That right there has got to be music to Texas fans' ears because the Texas Longhorns now have a chess piece that they can start moving around offensive formations to keep defenses off balance. That right there is huge. When you add in a guy that has that sort of ability into a room with a Bijan Robinson, who's already one of the top running backs in the nation, that's only going to help Bijan ease the workload on him, but it's also going to keep defenses off balance. So if you do have a two-back situation, Keelan Robinson is so effective in the backfield, out the backfield as a running back, and then out the backfield as a slot wide receiver, and that's instant production for this Texas offense. But he is not alone, because even though Xavier Worthy isn't technically a transfer, considering he was released from his national letter of intent, this is an individual who could come in and make instant dividends for this Steve Sarkisian offense for the Texas Longhorns. The Texas Longhorns going through a bit of a quarterback competition, but no matter who you choose, there's reason for upside, whether it's Hudson Card or Casey Thompson, both guys exhibiting a lot of reason to be excited. But that Xavier Worthy pickup is one that I think we really need to take a look at because his speed is going to be impossible to replicate for the Texas Longhorns. Keelan Robinson coming in and being able to be utilized at that wide receiver H position is awesome because he has that home run hitting ability, but Xavier Worthy has got track speed, legitimate track speed, and he's going to be able to be someone to come in here and help the Texas Longhorns take the top off of defenses. Because when you look at the stylistic differences of the Texas Longhorns wide receivers, you have Jordan Whittington, who's a very talented guy, and then someone who I'm very excited on seeing is O'Meary this season. But Xavier Worthy coming in there takes pressure off of every single person in that wide receiver room. Now, he's got to win the position, but because he is so fast and he was such a highly coveted recruit, I can imagine that he is going to be an individual who will be able to win that battle. But let me know what y'all are thinking about Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns' use of the transfer portal, because even though they lost some guys, they got in some really big pieces in my opinion. Even though they might not be able to compete with OU in saying they won the transfer portal, they were able to get some guys in with quality experience, knowing what it takes to be within a successful program, tone setters, and then guys that when you break down the X's and O's of what it is Texas is going to want to go out there and go do, should be able to contribute to that as well. So I think that there's reason for Texas fans to be excited about Texas's use of the portal. That's it. See ya.